Right, welcome back everybody. So what I'm going to do now is work through some existing problems in these kind of like partial implementations that we provided as part of the code along assignments. In particular, I got an email about some bugs in this one right here, or some kind of missing functionality. And what I want to do is step through and kind of diagnose what that missing functionality is, and then show you how to fix it. Hopefully that will be helpful as you're kind of wrapping up assignment number 4 and assignment number 5. So first things first, if you download this zip file and you unpack it, you will get back to index.html, app.js, and all that good stuff. And if you come over here, you will notice the very first bug is if you try to delete, it won't actually work. And let me get rid of these really quick. So you can click this as violently as you want and it will never work, but it does click the selection routine or the selection function. So we know that one of the functions is working, the other one not so much. So one of the things that I wanted to show is if you're on any modern browser, PC or Mac, and you hit F12, so on a Mac that is Fn or the function key and the speaker key, or on a PC it's just F12. If you hit that, it will take you to the developer tools for the browser. And so in the right hand side you'll see a whole bunch of different stuff. One of these things is called console, and this will actually tell you if there are JavaScript errors or something like that that are happening in the controller. And that often helps you sort through issues, particularly if you're having problems with service calls failing or something like that. So in this case, we're getting a DOM warning that we have non-unique IDs. So here I have an ID with a name, and I have an ID with a name. This should actually be course name or something instead. I'm not actually using jQuery or anything to manipulate the DOM, particularly these pieces, so it doesn't actually really matter. But this kind of gives you an idea of what you might be able to see in the console. So console doesn't help us very much right here. That means that it's probably not a syntax error. It means it's probably a logical error. So the code is probably fine. It's just not doing what we're intending for it to do. So if you go to elements and you hit this selector here, you can drill down into the button, click on that, and you see here I have the ng-click for remove semester, and so it's very, very likely that the bug is inside of the remove semester function inside of the controller. So if we go to our controller, we go to remove semester right here. If I put a breakpoint right there and I close this and I try to delete, what I find is that I get the correct ID passed in. So here I have the very first semester, the ID here is 1, so everything is kind of happy. If I step through this, you can hit F10 to step through, or you can hit this button right here. I will get down here, and my ID is set to 1, so this is the local JavaScript variable ID. But my scope semesters list does not have an ID, which is kind of weird. So if we go to semesters, we can drill into this, and we notice that ID is actually a capital I here, not a lowercase I. So what is happening is if I put a breakpoint on 93, I step through, that is going to keep index to delete at -1. So we never actually found a match on the ID because this thing never existed. And so now this condition never gets hit, or it's never true, and so we never go in and we never remove the correct item. So what we can do to fix that pretty easily is we can do that. Then we can do that. We can change this to a capital I, and then we can rerun that. Okay, so now I have some fall classes, I have some spring classes. I don't have anything in summer, so we should delete this thing. So if I delete it now, it goes away. And it goes away because I can actually do ID matching now that I've capitalized the property, and everything kind of makes sense, it kind of works. Okay, so the next bug I have not done very much investigation into, but if you add a class, so blah, 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 8 people in it, and you hit OK, it doesn't actually go anywhere you want it to go. So this is very likely going to be in the add class. So here. So we put a breakpoint there, and we're going to do this exact same thing. So blah, 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 blah. Fine. Okay. Okay. So I don't have a lowercase I here, so this thing is still undefined. And so now my selected class has all sorts of stuff on it, right? That's kind of cool. But in order to actually show up in my UI here, it has to have the correct foreign key to a semester. And so because my semester ID on the class is never being set to a reasonable value, it's always being set to undefined, I can't link that class to the semester that I want. So again, all you have to do is close out of that, hit capital I, and then go. So now if I go to summer 2020 and I add a class, this is going to be C#. Class name is going to be, it's going to be CIS 4930 C#. Bob Ross. Enrollment is going to be 40. If I hit OK, now I get a 3, which makes a lot more sense. And so if I step through this, I'm going to push the selected class onto my classes. Now my classes has this additional thing here. And so if I hit OK, now I have this guy. And it does everything that I want it to do. So as you can see, we basically have 2 completely different bugs that looked very, very, very different, but are caused by essentially the same thing. And that thing was after I filmed the original video for this, I started working on the persistent stuff, and the persisted models have a capital I because they're implemented in C#, and the naming convention is to have a capital I for public properties. And so because that capitalization changed and I didn't come back through and look at all of these things, and so here you see a lowercase I, there are going to be a lot of mismatches. So this kind of gives you an idea of how to troubleshoot stuff like this, and how when we talk about code generation in the latest videos, this is kind of a perfect example of why code generation is important. If you changed the capitalization in the model property in the code generator and then regenerated the code, all the bugs would go away at one time, and you wouldn't necessarily have to worry about chasing down all of those different places now. So I hope this is helpful for finishing assignment number 4 and assignment number 5. I appreciate the students that actually notified me of this problem via email. I apologize for the inconvenience, but if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help, and I will talk to you all soon. Thanks.